Hello everyone. So we're at the end of the year, finally in December. This is the final update for the train layout before the next year starts. Hope that you'll continue to join along with the uh, growth of this railroad as I continue on. As I showed in the preview last month, I'm going to be taking you to the top of the Helix for where the railroad is going to continue to expand. Some changes are coming up on the railroad as well. Having had some conversations and some long thoughts and some looks at the original plans from the book that I've been using, I'm definitely going to make some design changes as far as where some industries are and how they're going to work. I think that's going to bring this railroad more into line for what I'm wanting to have, with this being effectively a very short line railroad. So let's go ahead and get into it and see how things are progressing up on top of the Helix. So I'm going to turn my attention to a new area, and that is on the upper level, and that's this back corner. And this all leads down to the Helix area. And as you can see in the middle of the Helix, the blue foam with some of the super trees laying on it and that church, I do actually want to use this area for some further rail interest. I want to get an industry in here. I want to work the church in somehow. But the first thing I've got to do is to be able to extend this line from this turnout here. So one of the first things I've got to do is to install a few more pieces of the Woodland Scenic sheet goods. That's going to get hot glued into place. Fill that in, add my risers to be able to get up to the level of where the blue foam is, and eventually work out how I want to have my industry set up in that area. So this is going to be a new area to work on. That also means that the upper part of the Helix is actually going to be scenic all the way around until we get to the tunnel over here. Now you can see the piece of threaded rod that's going to have to go away. I'm going to get a tunnel portal in here and figure out a way to make sure that that area is accessible in case there's a derailment in there. So that's all got to get worked out. I'm hoping to have the church over on this side, somehow up above the tunnel, so that the church would be looking down onto the train area. And then I want to have a view block of some kind, whether it's another physical wall like you can see here, or if I do some type of a hill. I haven't decided. And then on this side is going to then be whatever industry I decide to put over onto the side. To get the area that is going to sit on top of and on the inside of the Helix, there's a few things that need to happen before I can start building things. To start with, I need to cut a access hole into the plywood here so that I'll be able to get onto the inside to deal with any wiring issues that may come up. The other thing I'm going to do, as you can see with the cardboard that is set into place, is I want to line the inside of the Helix because I don't want the outside of the, or excuse me, I don't want the stuff from the inside of the Helix to show when we're on the outside. This whole exterior area is eventually going to get covered with fabric, so curtains, to hide the train as it goes up the Helix. So there'll still be plenty of access all the way around the Helix to get a hold of any derailments that might happen. So that is the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm adding foam riser material to be able to make the transition off the turnout through this area and then across to the interior section of the Helix where the industry is going to be. I'm still not fully decided on what industry I want to put here, but I've got a couple of thoughts, which I might touch on a little bit later. I'm also starting a little bit of backfill with some Sculptamold, just to start that process. Nothing dramatic at this point. And I still have a little bit more to do to make sure the transition off of the turnout onto these risers is even and correct. The turnout's going to go in this location here as we move into the area going on top of the Helix. The reason I'm putting it in this location is so that I have access underneath to get to the switch machine in case something happens that I need to work on it. As we move along the length here, heading out to the top section of the Helix, you can see I've added in some foam riser material from Woodland Scenics that allows me to transition out onto the foam that's inside the Helix. You'll notice that I've also added in some Sculptamold to continue to shape the terrain in this area. And then also the black material that you see here is actually construction paper. I have found that using construction paper in strips and layering it, and you can see that each one is a little bit longer than the other, allows for making some minor changes to the overall grade. When I put this in, this is some 2% grade foam riser material, but when I put it in, I discovered that it was actually pushing more about 3%. So somewhere in my construction, something isn't quite level as it should have been. But it's not a problem because by adding in these shims, these poster board material shims, I'm able to adjust that overall angle and get that down to where I want it to be. So it's no longer up in the 3% grade, it's around 2.5 at this point. Once I put down the cork road bed, I can actually do some further adjusting by sanding the cork and adjusting things with the cork. So heading out onto the blue foam here, this is where I'll put one final industry in this top section. Again, I haven't fully decided what industry I want to put up here, but something that will be keeping within the overall theme of what I've got going on the whole layout. So next, I need to be able to get the cork installed and then start being able to install the track. Work is progressing in this area. I've blended in the road bed along this side. Still have the other side to do a little bit of work on. And then coming out into the top of the Helix onto the foam, I just have the cork laying here at the moment. It is not actually glued down. You will notice in the back I do have a strip of cardboard attached onto that foam, and the bit of tunnel liner. That is actually going to be where the train will exit the Helix officially, and there'll be a view block of a hillside along here. My plan had been to build this hillside like I've done with the others, using the lattice work of the with the cardboard. However, I think I'm going to go with a slightly different approach this time. Across this main area from the edge of the backdrop here all the way over to the opposite side of the Helix, I'm going to put in a cardboard profile of the hill, the ridge, and then going across from, let's call it 12 o'clock to approximately the 6 o'clock position on the Helix, but it'll stop in the foam area. I'll put a profile of the hill for that. So that'll give me 2 points of reference to be able to create the lattice work and then the all of the plaster cloth work to create the hillside in this area. Now, as far as the industry that is going to go up here, what I had originally planned has changed. And that is going to affect what I've got back here as well. I originally had a turnout set up to go here, and I even put in the foam to allow the second line to be in here. So there is going to be 2 tracks going up here. But now, with the change that has been made, I'm no longer going to need that, and that is going to simplify what's going to happen up here. My intention for this railroad has been for it to be a short line, nothing major, so not a lot of heavy traffic and not a lot of huge industries that would be creating a ton of revenue. And this is going to be in the 30s, maybe very early 40s, and having been purchased by the PRR, being converted to PRR standards, and of course heading into the beginnings of the end for the PRR after we get through World War II. So this is never going to be a heavy industried layout. I originally had planned for this area that I'm following to be a coal mine, which, if you remember, this area was filled with all kinds of tools and other junk. This was going to become the coal mine area. But now, after having a conversation with my son when he was over one day, I've actually decided to change this whole area, and this is now actually going to be a sawmill area. The sawmill originally, from the original plans for this layout, was going to be located up here on the second level in this little area here. But knowing that this was going to be very, very tight to put in a sawmill, now having this area down here to be able to spread it out, there's going to be a lot more room to be able to work the sawmill and be able to have traffic going back and forth between the forestry area and the forestry industry and then the sawmill industry. So how does that relate to what's going on top of the Helix? Well, in the original version of the plans, the top of the area that I'm going to use for the sawmill was originally a quarry, which is why I thought about turning it into a coal mine. And up on top of the Helix was actually a stone mason area to be able to break down and create slabs, marble slabs, things of that nature. But now what I'm going to do is put in a couple of smaller industries. Up on top of the Helix here, I'm pretty sure is going to be the Campbell scale models barrel manufacturer. So that's going to go up in here. In the spot that is presently the sawmill area, and that is now going to change. But over here, I think I'm going to put in the sash and door industry from Campbell scale models. So there's definitely going to be quite a bit of structure building that's going to be coming up here in the future as well. So I think between those two industries, that is going to change this whole area and how all of this is going to interact with the rest of the railroad. So the first piece of cardboard is in place. It's just sitting there. Nothing's attached at this point, and I can start to draw out a rough shape for what I want the hill to be, and that of course is going to blend right into the backdrop, and some of that hill will extend into that backdrop area, and of course we'll eventually have background trees painted onto it as well. So let's see what kind of a design I can come up with for the shape of the hill that's going to be here. This is the profile so far. Not too bad. I think maybe over here on the right-hand side, I may lower that down a little bit. It just looks too horizontal, so I may just lower that down some. Over here on the left, you'll see that there's this flat part before it goes up. Coming out of the tunnel portal, there's going to be a rock face all along the inside curve of the helix, and that will slowly be tapering off. And I wanted to make sure I had enough of a shelf area for the rock castings and such to be able to go on there. So there'll be some more support along this area to be able to support the rock castings. So with that being the ridge line of the hill, I now need to create the profile of the hill from, as I had said, from the 12 o'clock position to the 6 o'clock area, as it were, to create that overall shape of the hill here. Using dimensions that I found online for how large the Campbell Models barrel manufacturing building is, I just made this simple box using the largest dimensions that I was able to find. Apparently it is a central building. It's got a attachment to the back, and then of course the dock on the front. So it's not going to be shaped like this in any way. But what it will do, of course, is to give me a good idea of how much space this is going to take up. And then I can play around with, what kind of angle I want the road to come in, and be able to position exactly where I'd like the building to go. Also, the blue foam is not actually glued down yet. So this whole piece can still move, which means I can change the angle of it. So if I wanted to have this further over here, I certainly could. If I wanted to position it more to the left, I could rotate it a little further off that way. So I'm going to be able to play around with that for a bit to figure out where I want that to be before I lock the foam down into place. Well, that's going to do it for this month. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a great time building the railroad this year, and things are continuing to grow and change, and looking forward to running a lot of trains in 2026. So next month, one of the things that I want to do is to give an overall tour of the layout again, for those of you who are new, and for those of you who have been with me for quite a while. I want you to be able to see some of the changes that have happened on the railroad throughout the whole build. So I'm going to go through and do a tour. I'm going to be using my POV car as well to get footage from the tracks as we go through here, so that you can see how that's going to look from the train's point of view, and just give another perspective of the layout as well. I also had somebody reach out to me asking for a run by with a certain number of cars that I have on the layout. I haven't forgotten that. I will be doing that and getting that done as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Have yourself a great rest of December and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in January. Take care, everybody. Be good out there. Have fun on your railroads. I'd love to see the work that you guys are working on for your train layouts, and we're looking forward into 2026. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.